Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to You Shalom Media. This is David Torres, your host, and you're on An Hour with Dave. All right, my people, welcome back, and we're on one more hour with Dave. And today I have an interesting and special guest all the way from LA.
San Diego. But yes.
And she's here, and we'll get her to tell you some things about her. But her name is Jacqueline Timmer, and she is the founder and director, okay, of
Got freedom?
Got Freedom, Got Freedom, a website, and we're gonna get her to introduce herself and her company and what she does. And I love having powerful women on my show. And trust me, the only thing missing from her is a bat. But go, welcome.
Well, thank you, David. It's an honor and privilege to be here today. It's been great getting to know you these past couple days, and we're happy to be here. The Got Freedom Project, or Got Freedom, is a media project that has emerged really in the past couple months. So my husband and I live in San Diego. I was working in marketing. My background in growing up was political, and I ran as far away from that as humanly possible. So
And you landed my show.
yeah, I know. I tried really, really hard. So I went to dance conservatory, but lo and behold, I got a knee injury, and now I'm back in it. So the political journey back was just seeing the state of America and what's happening right now, especially with cancel culture and the inability to have real conversations about these issues. Where if you can say one thing, then it gets stigmatized and put with an entire agenda that you never meant to be a part of. And so our voices as Americans and as individual people, our voices are being stolen. And so the Got Media, or the Got Freedom Project, or Got Freedom, is essentially an effort to restore the American voice and to dialogue about these different issues.
All right. So, people, before we get totally into Jacqueline and all the things that she's offering and does, I want you all to remember that November's coming up, and we need votes, and we need an army, and we need our people, we need our Christian values, and all the things that I've been pushing, because there's a hate group out there, and it hates Christians. And let's face it, this is not about Trump. This is not about Republicans. This is strictly about Democrats, the left, and the hatred towards Christians. That's exactly what this election's about. So, in your travels, you're doing a documentary. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the documentary it's kind of our back burner project, but it is a hope. So right now, our media team is more or less gathering interviews and collecting information on the ground about specific issues. So voter fraud issues, government overreach issues, these various things that seem abstract and disconnected, but are very practically impacting us and manipulating us on a personal level. So that's what we're currently documenting and tracking. The longer term, we'd love to have a documentary. We have numerous projects that are in the future after the election that we're praying and hoping that we get to be a part of to offer voice to various issues in the racial tension that's taking place, trafficking, some of these different things that really need to be highlighted, but not from a toxic political battering back and forth standpoint, but rooting it in human story and personal experience.
Well, great. That's great, because we know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot manipulating going on. One of the things that I've been bringing a lot to the forefront, especially on my radio, this broadcast itself, is that I try to bring as much information and telling them the viewpoints of different angles, for the people, just to get a grips of what's going on. It's not easy. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of manipulating going on. I, for one, I'm a Republican, and I lay into Republicans like you would not believe if I think that they've done something. I lay in the Democrats. I'll lay in anybody. It doesn't matter
I
to
think
me.
that's the New Yorker in you, though. I'm afraid you're gonna lay into me here in a minute. But
You know, there's no fear. You
yeah,
know, I feel I'm a heavy Christian.
yeah,
Um, and I don't see a losing battle to me because I figured he already died on the cross. He
that's
already
right.
did his thing, and that fight is won. So what are you gonna do to me? I don't fear.
Yeah.
You know, what can you possibly do to me to scare me? I scare my guys in the booth once in a while. Cause I watch them duck their heads. I watch them shake their heads. Um, because sometimes I can get real. What's a good word?
Really vivid, I'll say.
On what I have to say. But you know, there is confusion out there. I mean, we've caught people in lies. Not you. And don't be afraid, because we have nothing against you. We've caught people like, and sometimes I wish that Trump would just stop tweeting so much, or have somebody proofread what you're tweeting. My guys, for example, won't let me tweet. I gotta
But they
tell
gave
them.
you a whole radio show, so
They allow me to. I say things and then they rephrase it and write it. And is this exactly what you want to say? And then they come back to me and say what shouldn't be said, because if they leave me, they figure I'm gonna get censored like there's no tomorrow. But there is confusing, and some of the stuff that concerns me. Are you paying attention to what's happening with the abortions out here? Is it is it some of the questions that I have to ask you is, what do you feel? What do you think? I mean, because abortions is a serious problem out here. I'm concerned for one of the questions. Um, in this country, since they passed the law, um, it's like over 50 million babies. I think that's horrible. I really do. And you can't hide behind religion. I have an issue with churches being closed up. That bothers me. Um, Personally, I've told our governor and our mayor, you chain up something, you better have somebody outside, because right behind you, I'm going to come breaking the chains, and cutting the locks. Don't matter to me. I got tools in my truck. Um, but what's happening with your point of view? Do you think, or you want to stay kind of politically away from? And
well,
that's okay if you
no,
do.
you're good. You don't even know. You just stepped into my whole childhood. So,
Okay.
my father is former Kansas Attorney General Phil Klein. He is
Ooh.
the first person in U.S. history, I believe, the only person to ever have criminal charges against Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
If they had been convicted of those criminal charges, they would have very likely lost all their federal funding. Without going into all the details, we'd be here for hours and hours. A lot of illegalities took place in order to cover up the crimes that were being committed by Planned Parenthood, and my dad lost his position in office. Money's funneled, absolutely crazy stuff. I've personally had death threats against my life. We've had helicopters fly around our house with news media, eye level looking in the windows when I was in high school. So that was my experience with politics. That was my exposure. It was an exposure to a corrupted system in order to protect finances coming into specific individuals holding public office who were close with the abortion industry and covering up crimes in order to do it.
Deep. Actually, I'm gonna tell you now. I didn't research that, so it was just something that I wanted to ask you. So don't think that there's more questions coming up
Okay.
from
All
behind
right.
that one like that, because I didn't try to set you up for anything.
Okay.
It's just one of the personal issues with me. Um, that's just one of them, where I have big issues, because I think that personally, Planned Parenthood is a setup, and I explain to people my belief. Okay, not Ursula Media, David Torres. You guys all know that I speak my piece, but it's my opinion. It's my show. The opinion. It's not the opinion of Ursula Media or its employees. It's me. Get it straight. Um, but I think that Planned Parenthood, from the onset, was a form of racial control,
Well, you
controlling a
can
population.
see that from Margaret Sanger and
Yeah.
the rise of that in the midst of the eugenics movement in the United States. It's absolutely documented. There's no question whatsoever. And the placement of those facilities was absolutely strategic in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it, and I also see that to me there was like a chain. You had Planned Parenthood, and then you had in the '60s and '70s when they were telling minorities, "Don't have daddy at home, and we're going to give you more welfare." That to me was a way to control the family nuclear. And then now the closing of schools, closing of churches, especially schools. Yeah, you got single mothers out there, and I've constantly said this with two, three kids at home. If they dropped out at eighth or ninth grade, let's face it. You know, I know I can't help a kid with math with the new math they got. You know, and I can't. I very well can't help them with the education levels that they have now. What they're doing in eighth grade now, or fifth grade, for that matter. My goddaughter comes by and asks me questions. I'm like, duh. It's scary. So if you're a mother with three kids at home and they just close your school down, I find it awfully odd that they close the schools and the churches down. This happens to be where the polling places are. They're calling people and telling them that the polling places are going to be closed, which I can tell you that they're doing it
We
all
were
day
there
long.
today.
Okay, they're closing the polling places, but the polling places, the temporary or the day early voting are in all the places where the polling places were closed, like schools and churches. It's amazing how you close the school system down for the lowest population that could have gotten affected. You have all kinds of ways of trying to control the pandemic. Now you have CDC saying that they weren't quite sure that closing the cities down is the best thing to do, so they're kind of flipping on that and saying it isn't the right thing to do. But the government, literally inside the inner cities where they have the most minority, and I must say, not only minority, the most poor whites, the most poor Hispanics, the most poor blacks, and that's where they're controlling everything. And they've taken everything away. To me, that's a dangerous move, and nobody's realizing that you got clowns like Governor Wolf, Governor Cuomo, and I said it again. I called you that. Ha. You know, and nobody's realizing that they're being manipulated. You got people out here for Biden telling them, um, vote for me, papi and mommy. When it was raining, I got an umbrella for you. And it's a problem, you know. So I don't know. What are you getting out there so far? Anything?
Yeah, so I definitely want to talk about the manipulation that's taking place in the voter system, but I want to go back to the pro-life
Mm-hmm.
issue for just a moment here. In growing up, what I witnessed was again that concerted effort to cover up crime in order to protect funds coming through abortion monies. On the flip side of that, a lot of the time in the conservative movement, what we have are various groups that then turn on each other in order to try and obtain that funding, in order to forward their cause, their pro-life cause. I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I'm watching the timer, I'm watching
That's
your
okay,
face,
because
and the
we
different things
could
going on
do
here.
the pro-life for
Okay.
this segment, and then we'll move
Okay.
into the other piece.
That's great. Um, what I grew up believe, what I grew up coming to believe was so important is that we look at these as systemic issues. We look at the root cause of these issues because if we become fixated on a problem, we can become codependent on that problem's existence for our own mission. So what does it actually mean to be pro-life? Well, part of being pro-life is going to be being pro-family. figuring out how we protect the family unit, how we keep the father in the home, how do we educate the mothers for proper health care, for proper self-care. All of these different elements are going to be so essential in order to create a healthy ecosystem where we can eradicate some of these egregious problems that are taking place in our society. So that's part of our media effort. Again, right now we are focused on these voter issues, but a lot of it is, hey, how do we take these abstract concepts, these issues that go before the Supreme Court, and bring it down into everyday life, bring it down into the neighborhood, and talk about what this looks like block by block in the community. We were talking to Terry Starks yesterday and his block by block approach. And so those are the types of things that we're trying to capture from a media perspective in order to create dialogue and conversation for real solutions.
Well, and I think in order to have dialogue, and real conversations, we need to be fair on both sides.
Right.
We need to hear both sides. We need to see where confusion is at on both sides. Because I think that in a lot of cases, both sides are not getting the real story. And that's where the shame comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it shouldn't have happened. And I think that, like people like me, I would love to be able to see both sides get legitimate information. Both sides be able to say that that let's hear them both out. Because when you really come down to it, a human being, the, a lot of the issues are kind of crossing. They do cross in a lot. They have some things that to them, and then also the generations play a big role in what the issues are. My generation as opposed to yours.
Right.
That plays a big role. We're gonna go on break for this segment. When we come back, we're gonna finish up on this pro-life piece because I want to give her opportunity, and then we're gonna talk about some of the other pieces that came up to you.
Okay.
So hang in there, get a cup of coffee. I told you she was a pistol, so we'll talk to you in a minute.
I haven't had my coffee. I need my coffee.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps.
Did Pete saying mean things bother ya?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Sometimes the things we do or say can make others feel hurt, excluded, or isolated. Everything you say and do creates an impact.
How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person.
Because of you, someone's entire life can change. You don't have to be a superhero to have a positive impact.
Friends?
Friends.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Back, everybody. Welcome back. And I told you we are going to have a good time today, a good topic. And we're here with Jacqueline again. And Jacqueline, reintroduce yourself.
It's great to be here. I'm Jacqueline. I'm here with my team from Southern California, and we are the Got Freedom Project.
Wow. And let me tell you, she's fair. She's willing to listen to all sides. She's not holding to any particular side, so you would get a fair shot here. Sorry we ain't taking phone calls. I could have set things up, but maybe another time we'll have Jacqueline call into the show and follow up on how her documentary is going, because yours truly may be part of the documentary.
There you go.
So finish your thought on the pro-life.
Yeah, so, I mean, just as I was saying, and I'll reiterate it one more time here, growing up very aware of and involved in pro-life efforts, seeing absolute criminal activity taking place in abortion clinics and then being covered up by government officials in order to protect funding, but also seeing the dissonance of the pro-life community, because what we need to understand when we're looking at a human life, the discussion of the validity of a human life, we're really going back to our very founding as a nation, that all persons are created equal, and with that they are endowed with certain unalienable rights. And that question and conversation has taken place throughout the course of human history, but specifically in this revolutionary context of a nation founded upon those principles and those values, that our inherent rights come from God and not from man and not from government. We need to really look at, how do we protect personhood before the law? How do we protect it where we had the 3/5 rule when it was regarding blacks, where they said, oh, they are not persons. They're human, but they're not persons before the law.
We're saying property.
Exactly. And we're saying the very same thing about children in the womb. And so with that, we have to approach this with a systemic understanding of, one, how do we protect the family unit? How do we make life better for those children, especially being born into poverty? I was talking with Pastor Phil earlier today, and we had a great conversation about some of these things. But ultimately, that child is a human life and is a person before the law.
Yeah, and I'm pro-life 100%. Now, I also think that if a female and a family should have their opinion. I don't control it. I mean, if a child's raped, if a woman's raped, I want to support the person, give them all the options that they have. Of course, like I said, I'm pro-life. But I don't think that I have the right to put my opinion on somebody who's gone to a tragic situation. You know, that should be yours and your priest if you're Catholic, or your pastor if you're Protestant, and your family issues. And we don't know, what happened. And if we're not in that situation, I know a young lady who was raped and wound up pregnant, and then she had the child, and in her eyes, the child always looked like the person that raped her. And that was a growing up situation that was so dangerous, because, I can't explain a mother. I mean, men, we're donors. And then mothers do everything after that, I mean, they carry the pain. They pick up the child when he falls. They're there when he has the fever. They put the Band-Aids on his scratched knee. We go out and make some money most of the time, and then come home and we're dead. And I mean, I can't imagine the pain of a mother. And so I don't never want to be the one to make that choice. Or, God forbid, there's an accident, an auto accident or construction, anything, a slip and fall, and they got to choose the baby and the mother and the C-section or whatever. You understand? To me, prenatal care has come a long way. So I don't think that government should be involved in that. I think in that situation, Now, do I think that Planned Parenthood should be just aborting somebody every 3 months because they decide to go out and have a good time? But that's me.
A couple things that I would, and first I want to acknowledge I love your compassion and tenderness to the issues as well as your full spectrum awareness of the issues. One of the things that is a strong concern when it comes to Planned Parenthood and some of these different organizations is child rape victims who are then forced to have an abortion by the individual that is abusing them.
Yeah.
This happens all the time.
Exactly.
And there is struggle with obtaining records to be able to verify that because, not necessarily because of the way that the laws are in place, but because of the lack of enforcement. And going back to, the concerns, I don't want to dive into all the details, but I would just say a life is a life. And does that person have
and I believe that.
before the law?
But that's the other thing that concerns me is that if, to me, the Biden organization gets in, and some of the things that they've proposed and some of the things they're thinking about, and some of the rumors that I have it, like no parents need it if a child needs to have an abortion.
Well, I mean,
I think that's insane. What if something happens to that child? What if something happens, then they don't know who did what to the child and what's... No. A 14, 15, 16-year-old go to a counselor and get birth controls and gets condoms? I don't know. No, I don't...
I wasn't able to get my ears pierced. So legally, I had to have a parent sign a document to get my ears pierced. I believe until I was 16 or 18. I just know my mom had to sign the dotted line.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in California, we see a complete push for pedophilia when it comes to the laws that are now being put in place. And when it comes to abortion, it's an attempt to cover up, often, not always, but a crime. And a crime that has taken place at the most personal level.
Yeah, and it's dangerous. And we as Christians out there, you need to think about what we're talking about today. It's a dangerous topic. Could you see if I want you to look at your grandchild or your daughter and picture her 13 years old, and if she's 8 now, God forbid an uncle passes his borderline where he's supposed to be at, or a friend, or a boyfriend in school, or an adult, or a teacher. If they pass the new laws, you don't even have to be told. It's beyond your control, and that is unacceptable. We cannot have laws here where you're taking away even parental rights. It is our job as parents to protect our children. It's not yours. It is our job to show them this is where the world is at. This is where I want you to grow. You make your choice to be an artist, a writer, a producer, teacher, whatever. And we guide them. But we cannot allow the government to tell us what they're going to do and where they're going to do it and how they're going to do it. Because that ain't happening. Let me tell you, it's not happening. You guys, if you pass that law, better hope I croak. Because I'm going to be on your case like there's no tomorrow. That was a heavy topic, girl. Heavy topic. Okay, so let's move on.
All right.
And think, how do you feel what's happening now? What are you getting now while you're out here and your runnings around? Do you like Philadelphia?
I love Philly.
Did you get a cheesesteak?
I haven't gotten a cheesesteak. I need to get a hoagie, but I've got a real Eagles fan with me. He's a diehard Eagles fan, so I'm getting the experience.
Are you gonna make sure she has a cheesesteak, a real cheesesteak?
Oh yeah, I've actually been asking around. I got a list of places to go to now.
Oh, so. I mean, you got to go to South Philly. You got to go to the original.
Okay.
Real deal.
Yeah, you got to go to this original. I mean, maybe I'll shoot down before you guys leave and take you down, because you got to have an original cheesesteak. Come on, that's a tourist area. But how do you like Philly? Let me tell you something. I came here about the age of 12. Okay? Philadelphia was the most gorgeous place. Imagine, I'm coming from the South, born in Brooklyn, coming to South Bronx. I come to Philadelphia and see homes. I mean, literally homes, not big, huge buildings where apartments, and if the elevator breaks and you live on the 7th floor, whoo, you better be healthy. And hope that nobody pulls the fire alarm. But you come out and you see row houses. Philadelphia used to have, and kid you not, when I went to Stetson alone, you could walk down Stetson and you had my favorite White Castle burgers, you know, where with 50 cents you can really impress a girl, you know. But you had factories. You had one on 2nd and Allegheny that I remember, and then when you take 2nd Street down, you had a row of chocolate factory, metal factory, plastic factory, down. Philadelphia now, the same area, if I take you through it, it would make you cry. And I've offered to take you through Kensington and through certain areas. Philadelphia has lost all its beauty. It's got some stuff coming, some stuff growing, but we've lost. Our educational system is terrible. We have issues for seniors, and our job sites are. We've lost so much in this city, and it's a shame. And I blame both parts because I don't care where you're from. Congress and Senate should never allow a city like Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington. I went to Washington. I had a job where I worked. I had an office here in Baltimore and in Washington. And let me tell you, I used to sing the song when I first got the job from the Jefferson, moving on up, thinking I'm going somewhere. And then you hit DuPont Circle and you walk 2 blocks down and what the hell did I walk into? And it's just not acceptable. And it's a shame because I tell people that we've lost so much. And I'm going to tell you, in Philadelphia alone, it's over 50 years of run by Democrats. So, yeah, I'm a little picky, you know, and I fight. But what have you been experiencing? Have you seen? Did you go back and check how Philadelphia used to look?
No, I haven't. But I need to, and I would love to. And we do want to take you up on that tour.
Because there's an area here called the Golden Block. It's a Hispanic hub of supposedly businesses. And I just walked through it doing a video for my election and my campaign. And in one block alone, I counted 11 stores in a straight closed down.
No,
one
before
side.
or after COVID?
Both.
I mean,
before it was going
ways,
down,
but...
and now, and the Golden Block is like our treasure, you know, and we've lost so much. There's actually homeless people sleeping on the Golden Block. It's only like 2 blocks long.
Yeah.
Starts from Lehigh and it ends, I think, in Indiana. And we've lost so much. In that area alone, you never seen homeless people sleeping on the Golden Block, and it's really gotten bad. So I don't know how much you've seen, but I need to show you pictures before and what it is now, and show you that our leaders have completely abandoned Philadelphia's people. And I'm telling you, I blame everybody. I mean, 50 years of Democratic Party ruling, fine. But 50 years of you continuously to vote for people that are screwing you. So, you know, what have you been experiencing right now?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting trip. I'm gonna start with, we've got.
Go ahead.
I see the timer going down. All right.
We're gonna move on to the same topic in the next segment.
Cool.
So go ahead.
All right. I love Philly. I love the people. And I'm gonna say think I like people from colder climates. They tend to be a little more down to earth. Now, you know, being in Southern California, I get chilly pretty quick. It was 70 degrees. I felt like I had to put my coat on. But
Oh my God.
I know it's terrible. It's really pathetic. But I love the city. I love the people of the city. We've had a really warm welcome. What we are here looking at and looking into is the manipulation of the vote. And my fear is that this city that is a founding place for our constitutional freedoms is the place that might be manipulated and distorted in an unfair election. And that's very concerning. And so we can talk about the logistics of that and what we're looking into with that, our specific concerns with that. But that breaks my heart. You start to read the Declaration of Independence to me, you'll see me crying on camera here in just a moment, David. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's completely revolutionary in the course of human history. And we must protect it, because where else would we go? As Dasha Pruitt said, if America falls to socialism, if America falls to unfair elections, where else will we go?
Yeah, it's horrible. I know what I've experienced, how I feel. I mean, you know, guys, you go to my block where I live, and I'll be the only one on the block with an American flag for blocks and blocks at a time. When we come back, we're going to get into the heart of why they're here and what they're doing and where they come, and we're going to try to help them, Philadelphia, right? Okay, it's going to be nice, and we're going to welcome them. See you in a minute.
I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. And even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, Maria, and she convinced me to continue my education. Just never judges. She's a true role model.
From the depths of my heart, I thank you, Maria, for being a friend and a beautiful person. No one receives a diploma alone, and I'm honored to share this moment with you. Thank you.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back, everybody, and we left, and I think I kind of made Jackie very nervous because
Start asking me history questions.
She's extremely smart, and I think I found a wrinkle in the armor over here. But I got to do this to her. So, the Constitution you love.
Yes.
Where was it written?
Here in Philadelphia.
Where? Where was the first draft?
I don't know.
Okay, everybody. There's a little house, hut, on 7th and Market where the first drafts of the Constitution was written. And this is my... did you ever follow up on that one I told you before to find out if I was telling you the truth?
About the video that you had showed me last time before?
With the Constitution and where it was written?
Oh, yeah, like you were talking to me about that last week.
Anyway, just on the 7th, and I've had, regrettably, teenagers, middle-aged people, people my age. I should have put myself in the middle. People my age. And I've told them, what was the Constitution? And they'll tell me, some say Delaware, and some say, the whole bit. And then I tell them, well, what's on the corner of 7th and Market? And here's the ugly part about this. On the corner of 7th Market lies the building where they drafted the first draft of the Constitution. And it's written on the side of the building, the whole bit. And across from it is a Dunkin' Donuts. And people knew from here the Dunkin' Donuts and did not know about the Constitution. That is the most saddest thing you could ever imagine.
I think
It shocked you.
No, actually, it sadly doesn't surprise me.
The younger the generation, I mean, at least you knew it was done here.
Yeah.
But the younger the generation, the less they know about it.
And that's the danger of cancel culture. The more we remove where we've come from for the voice of political correctness, we lose our identity. I mean, I've made mistakes in my life. I'm guessing maybe, perhaps, that you've made a couple too.
What mistakes you made? You picked chocolate instead of vanilla ice cream for the evening?
Oh, that's well, if it was the other way around, it'd be a travesty. But those mistakes are part of what form who we are. It's our overcoming as an individual, as a people, as a nation. And if we remove that history and that heritage, because there are blemishes, there are scars, there are injustices, but there's also a rich revolutionary heritage that says you matter. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what Trump or Obama or Biden says. You as a person matter before the law. And they are even held accountable to that law because you matter. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely revolutionary. And it's beautiful and it's rich. And the danger of cancel culture is that we are constantly and consistently removing ourselves from that truth of our heritage because of the guise of offense. Yeah. Well, if we don't address the offense, we will never overcome and find healing.
Yeah, and I tell people, offend me. Go ahead. It's okay. I can live with it.
I've been trying all day, David, and I haven't succeeded, so I think we're doing all right.
I'm an old cookie. You got to do a lot better than that. But yeah, it's scary to see kids, and I'll tell them, you know, this country has made its mistakes and has paid its price along the ways, and then along with the Constitution, I tell that everybody has an inalienable right to free speech, to freedom, and there were slaves here, and there's issues going on, and there's been going on, but we've also moved and evolved from that to where we knew that a human being is not property.
Right. And I would say even more so, you know, there has been slavery, there have been these issues, but those issues matter. And because they matter, that's why we must protect our founding documents.
I believe we have to protect it, and we cannot tear the history down because we're bound to make mistakes again along the same line because we are not reminded of the mistakes we made in the past.
Right. And those founding documents are the very thing that enabled us to move past those injustices. Mm-hmm. So if we remove the founding documents, we're left with the injustices without any...
No guidance.
Right, exactly.
And we cannot allow people who want to remove some of that and change some of that because that's exactly what we're being protected from.
Right. And when they remove it and when they change it, it creates room for arbitrary law, arbitrary enforcement, and that will ultimately always wind up in tyranny.
It'll kill us. It'll kill what we have. It'll kill our dreams. And I always tell people, you know, if you're Hispanic and you think that the Republican Party is racist, well, I can give you two ugly examples today. I'm Hispanic, believe it or not. And I'm running for Congress under the Republican ticket. So I've had people come up to me and say, you're all racist. And then when I talking to them Hispanics, they go, huh? And we have black people running, and we have females running, and we have, you know, I've already told you, I love to see a empowered woman. But when Biden said he was going to put a female I felt insulted personally because he said he was going to put a female as his vice president. And that was all a joke. It was a joke because they knew who they were going to put up. It's more insulting to me as a Latino because when Trump ran, you had 2 females or 3 females who were running for president. One of them was a CEO who was brilliant. You had, I believe, 2 African Americans. One was a neurosurgeon, one was a business person. You had 3 Latinos running, and then you had Trump. So he won fair and square. Okay? When this man said he was going to put up a female to run for vice president, none of the women he put up were Latinas. Not one. And I said, isn't this weird? This joker knew who he was going to pick from the very beginning. And he never even gave us a name. And why couldn't he just lie and say Lydia Rodriguez? I don't care. Just give a name. But we didn't even get the consideration and respect of giving us a name. And we've been voting in this country for a long time. And we're the largest population growing. And then by the next election, we will be the ultimate population of voters. And that dude didn't even give us a name. And then you're going to run around and vote for him. How much more disrespect do you want from somebody? A man who, and we're going to get back to this, and I'm going to let you talk. A man who, remember, when they were busing kids back and forth, said, well, I don't want my kids getting at school segregated because I don't want them to grow up confused. So, yeah, I got personal issues when it comes to Biden. Go ahead. I did it to her again.
You did it to me. I will say that our group as a whole is a nonpartisan group, but we have very strong stances on issues. So Biden has said enough things to put his own foot in his mouth. I don't need to do it for him. But
And Trump has done his dues.
Yeah, someone take his phone away. But I like his policy, so what can I say?
Yeah.
But when it comes to it, I'm not going to assume motivation. I just think that there is something that needs to be said for giving the people their voice. And part of the issue with that is because it is such a buzzword, right? Yeah. And so it's like, get out and vote, get your voice, do this, do that. But where the lack of understanding is the systematic approach to manipulate a voice or manipulate a certain population or to claim the viewpoints of a group of people and say this is the group and viewpoint of the whole when it's absolutely not. And it's being done for a political agenda. It's being done in a way that disenfranchises people. And so we need to find ways that move away from censorship.
Well, I think that the best way to get to the polls and move away from censorship is to, for example, if there's a race right now in Philadelphia and there is no independent running because they got screwed.
Yeah, Orlando.
Royally. They got screwed bad. Then maybe all the poll workers and table workers should be independents. They don't have nothing to gain by anybody voting one way or another.
Well, my question with that is, what is the Working Family Party?
Well,
and where did that come from? Because we're now seeing the emergence of these groups that are claiming to be something that they're very likely are not. There's absolute room for concern in what's taking place in the polling places and the things that need to be looked into as possible solutions for that.
And the polling places are being manipulated really ugly. You're out here now, and I really appreciate you guys being out here and coming off the beaches and the swimming pools and the shiny waters. But to come down here and walk in Kensington,
it's great to be here.
You guys got guts. I tell you, all the way from East LA, is it?
You can't. San Diego. San Diego.
I tried to get her to say she was from East LA. Now we're going to say something in Spanish.
Muy, muy poquito.
Yeah, you know, it's a beautiful. I've never been there. I have friends that went out there, friends that call me, oh, you got to move out here. No, I'm not. It's too hot for me.
It's too expensive.
And too hot. And besides that, I don't think they'll like my stance on things.
Well, I will say San Diego is the largest American city with a Republican conservative Christian mayor.
Yeah, but I can't afford San Diego.
Nobody can afford San Diego.
But what is your agenda? I'm gonna give you the time. I'm gonna not interrupt you. What is your agenda for the rest of your documentation here? What is it that you hope to do, and other than a cheesesteak?
Well, the cheesesteak is paramount. But after the cheesesteak, I mean, there are a number of things that we're trying to do, and Lord willing, we'll be able to do. But it is very difficult to reach people when there's a lot of shady things happening in the government. And so what we're seeing here is that private funds have specifically come into Philadelphia to help fund the capacity for not only turn out the vote, but voter registration for these absentee ballots and boxes. But what people don't understand or realize is that it's creating an absolute discrepancy in the funds that are being spent throughout the state in order to turn out a specific voting demographic. And this is a key state when it comes to the presidential election. We have no issue with private efforts to turn out the vote, but when it's being run through government agencies, that is very, very concerning.
Well, not only that, let me tell you, they had 13, 14 polling places open. One of them opened in an area where you would see more Republican votes. Everything else was put in an area where it was Democratic votes that would be turning out.
And let me ask
and that's totally, and Republicans are not in any of them sites. It's only run by Democrats.
Right, and we saw that when we went to one of the polling sites today. Now let me ask you: is that particular site, and I haven't looked into this yet, so I could be wrong, is it in Delaware County, up in the Chesterfield area?
No, because Delaware County. I'm talking about just in
Philly.
In Philadelphia.
Okay.
That's horrible.
That's
horrible. And you know, Mayor Kenny and Governor Wolf, you suck. Actually doing something like that. That's disgraceful, man. Even for my people, let me tell you, you're lucky I don't get more influence because, man, Kenny, I'm going to be on your case so bad if you think you're going to have a clear run to be governor. Man, you better have something glued on your head because I am going to be on your case like white on rice. Go ahead.
That was just a lot of great euphemisms right there. I'm trying to catch up. But absolutely, the voter fraud.
I got it twice, right?
I think 3. Yeah, 3. All right, we're at 3. The voter fraud is a concern, and so we're reaching out to a number of different people. I called the city commissioner's office, got a busy signal 3 times, and then finally found a voicemail, and the city commissioner's office is temporarily closed. It's a 2020 federal election. I mean, this is the biggest news on every single channel, and it's difficult getting a hold of a city commissioner to talk about CTCL funds coming into the city. So that's absolutely a concern.
You're not going to get them. You're not going to get them. You're not going to get city officials to answer. Remember that this city has been run 50 plus years by the Democratic Party. They control everything in the city. And you know, everything you could possibly, even to put a lawsuit on them, it's, you know, you got to hope that somewhere along the line the judge is at least neutral a little bit, you know, 40-60, you know, but it's bad. I wish you the best of luck. I have to do an interview with her tomorrow, so I had to be easy on everybody here because I'm sure she'll say payback. But let me know anything I can do to help you and your quest and put it out. And Democrats out there, come on. Come out here, talk to her, be real, don't be insulting. Be like me, you know, be neutral. And help her out, because these kids came from a long way, man. They hung up their surfboards and everything, and you know. But thank you for coming. We love you. Philly, we love you. Yusula Media, God bless you.
Thank you.